he says, you fattened your hearts in the day of slaughter like cattle being fed for the butcher. You think, these cattle, bless their hearts, they're headed for the slaughter. Like, man, they're feeding me good today. And they're like, yeah, tomorrow you're going to be feeding somebody pretty good too. They're actually headed towards that. And the danger of this is this. That prosperity will oftentimes lead us to lukewarmness. Right? He's like, you people have had it so good that you've forgotten what you have. Amen. The danger of comfort. You see, being too comfortable can do some things to us. Being too comfortable can dull our spiritual hunger. You ever been in a bad spot and recognize you need God to help you out of that spot? He helps get you out of that spot, and how thankful you are and how grateful you are. Some of us need to go back and remember some of those things. Amen. God, remind me of what you've done for me. Remind me of how desperate I was. Remind me of the feeling of loneliness. Remind me of knowing that I was separated from you because of my sin, not so that I can feel like grief, just fulfilling grief, but God, help me to see that you get the praise because of how good you've been to me. Amen. You know what else comfort can do to us if we're not careful? Self-centered living. Guess what? Your dependence no longer relies on God, but it's replaced by you relying on you. And that's dangerous territory. Amen. And then perhaps most saddest of all is that it can create blindness to eternity. Paul gives some pretty vivid imagery in his writings, and he says that people that are like this, that are spiritually blind, are asleep. And he calls us to wake up. Wake up, O sleeper, he says. You see, if we live for ourselves and it's all about us and we're so focused on us that it's me, 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 what happens is we forget that we're mortal. And we can get this blindness towards eternity. Are we living for pleasure? Or are we living for purpose? Is our lifestyle shaping us toward God or away from Him? All right, I got to hurry here. The last thing I'll say about that is this. A life centered on self is a life unprepared for eternity. Let me say that one more time. If your life is centered on yourself, your perspectives is in the wrong place. Because here's the dead end of selfishness. Look at verse 6. You've condemned and murdered the innocent one who is not opposing you. What? He murdered no one. This may not necessarily mean literal murder, but what he's talking about is that when we crush people through power and greed and climbing and climbing and climbing, the righteous person did not resist, had no power to fight back. This reflects the heart of doing people wrong. When prosperity is all about how much power we can gain, and power becomes oppression and different things like that, this is what leads to destruction. Do we use what we have to lift other people up or to overlook them? Are we sensitive to those who have needs? Now again, I'm not saying that you throw your brain out, the window and say, oh, well, here we go. Take all that I have. I don't have any. No. What I'm saying is that God says, listen, you're the hands and feet of Jesus Christ. He's called us to a great task, and that task is to help lift others up. So let's bring it all home here quickly. Some truths we can learn here. Number one, wealth is a tool, not a treasure. Need to be reminded about that. We need resources, but they're meant to be used, not worshipped, right? Amen. Yep. One of these days, all of my junk's going to be somebody else's junk. Amen. Right? Oh, I saw this thing. I can't go one sermon without giving you a fishing reference. I saw this thing that says, my greatest fear is that if I die, my wife will sell my fishing gear for what I told her I bought it for. That's bad, isn't it? That's bad. That's a double wrong. You shouldn't lie to your wife. And man, some people got some good deal on some fishing gear. And you're dead. So I guess that's a triple bad. But if you're with Jesus, that's all right. Secondly, God sees how we handle what he gives. This is big. This is what I want to talk about motives. Real quick, motives. Nothing is hidden before God. Amen. Why we do what we do is very important. Amen. Some people need to be careful when they think that, every little thing that they do is so that they can then, use that for their advantage. Man, I'm going to tell you right now, let go of all of that. You do what God asks you to do, and then you allow him to handle the consequences. Amen? I said that a few weeks ago from Dr. Charles Stanley. Right? Obey God and leave the consequences to him. He'll handle the consequences. Yeah. And then James is very clear here about that these things we're going to give account for. What we do with what we've been given. There's consequences to misuse wealth. We may think, this really doesn't have any bearing on anything. No, it does. It does. Well, let me give you the gospel connection. We always need some good news. Amen? Here's the good news. The good news is that Christ has succeeded where we often fail. I began to think about this. So Christ took our place, right? We always say that. We say it all the time. He became poor so we could be rich spiritually. Yeah. He gave everything, not just money. He gave his life so that we could see what true love is. And so through him, we receive forgiveness. We receive a new heart. We learn to live differently. And all of these things are brought about not because we figured it out, but because of Jesus Christ. Amen. You don't remember anything else, remember that. So what do I trust? Where's my trust? Am I trusting God or am I trusting resources? Am I generous with what God has given me or am I not? Am I storing up treasures here or am I storing up treasures in heaven? That's important to remember that. So we'll get a song of invitation real quick, give you some application here. What do we do with this kind of sermon? Well, I think number one, we learn that we are to be generous people. I don't just mean money. I mean just be a helper. The other day I was at a wedding and they were giving the speeches like they do, and this lady was talking. She says there's three people in the world. Well, three kind of people in the world. She said there's one person that when somebody asks you, can you help me? And you just say, nope, don't have time for it. And she said, then there's a second kind of person that we say, can somebody help me? And they say, yeah, but in your mind you're thinking, man, I don't have time. How am I going to do this? And you make it work, but you just, you're not real happy about it. He said, then there's a third type of person, and she was describing those getting married. And she said, you're the type of person that somebody says, can you help me? You say, yes, and. Yes, and. You go the extra mile. Yes, and I'll help you through that. Yes, and no questions, just let me help you. Be a generous person. Be a fair person. Be a compassionate person. And God, help us to honor him. Honor him with what he has given us. Use what God has given me, that I may use what God has given me in a way that honors him. Because guess what? This world is not our home. We're headed somewhere. Friends, we'd love to pray for you. If you want to pray today, please come. We're going to have a song of invitation.